Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Good morning.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good
Morning.
morning,
What
sir.
is told
Yes,
to
sir.
you?
Good
Yes,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kindly stay muted. And
Good morning, sir.
how many total number of participants are expected?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Around
155, around 155.
Approx
151.
145.
So we right now have about 90 people already
Good
joined.
morning, sir.
So let's wait for a minute or two before we start, hoping that others will join fast.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Kindly confirm if my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
What is
Are you, sir? Are you?
what is
Sir.
Yes, sir.
what exactly is visible right now?
Google, sir.
Google.
Okay, cool. So
Google.
I think we should now start because time is up, and
Good
hoping that
morning, sir.
okay. So let's before we actually formally start our slides, I'd like to welcome all the participants into this session, and
Thank you, sir.
I would like this session to be interactive. But since the number of participants are pretty large, what I would say is I'll ask the participants to put their comments in the chat box so that it is easier for me to respond to those queries, and if any, by reading the chat box. And if your queries or your comments are already in the chat box, then you don't have to repeat it. That's point one. Point
Okay,
two,
sir.
we are going to, for about next 1.5 hours, we are going to talk about the um, potential of technology for helping us do better teaching, better learning, and better research. That's the objective. So with that objective, we are going to, before we take up the slides, I would request participants to kindly share the your comments, if any, especially the um, problems that you would like, because actually IT is a solution enabler. We all know that IT alone is not a panacea, but information and communication technologies can be used for finding meaningful solutions, affordable solutions to various problems, including the problem of teaching, learning, and research. So we would like to understand from the faculty members what are the common problems that you have observed as faculty members that you would like to be solved. Problems as teacher, as faculty member that you have seen from your eyes that you would like to solve. Probably exploring solution through technology. So can I hear from you for a minute or two in the chat box? What are the problems that you would have seen or faced that you would like to solve through technology? Please mention. Yes, go ahead. Please provide some inputs, because by the end of the session, we would like to see that some of the concerns or some of your inputs are, you walk away from this session with some practical technology-enabled solutions that you can employ in your teaching learning process in your institutions from tomorrow. That's the objective. With that objective in mind, I'm asking you to share some of the problems that you would have observed or you would have faced. We all have used students do not respond to the questions thrown open to them for interaction. Very nice. Very nice input. Any other problems that you would have seen? So students do not respond to the questions. There could be two reasons. One is they don't know they are not at the same page. They are not understanding the context or the subject, or they are not interested, or they are afraid that if they start interacting, their ignorance will get exposed or something like that. Right? I'm just thinking loudly what could be the possibilities. So how? Okay, contingency plan while the instructor gets disconnected. Okay, so you're talking about the online class. If the connectivity breaks and the participants are dropped out, how do we take care? We don't have rich libraries in our college. Usually we deal it as we, very nice. They don't want to take part in learning activity. Very nice. Students lose concentration in class very easily. They are usually not responsive. Very true. Now we will try to follow up for inline teaching. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So let us understand technological gaps
Sir,
in
it should be online. I'm so sorry for the typo.
No issues. So there are gaps in the technical infrastructure. There are gaps in the skill set. Very nice. So we will try to see practical solutions to some of the problems that is being stated in the chat box. Very nice. So we will get back to our discussion and we'll try to see. Recently, I think few years back, we were faced with COVID pandemic, right? So let me try to open the slide pack and let me know when the slide is visible to you on your screen. Allow me a minute or two to open the slides. Are the slides visible now?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Very nice.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So, see, what we are trying to do is now we are trying to find, we are going to discuss some of the technology-enabled tools that we can incorporate into our teaching, learning, and research process that will help us to be more effective, more efficient, and be better teachers, better researchers, better research supervisors, better mentors. So with that objective, let's proceed with these slides, and we will see by the end of the session we would have already found some solutions to the problems that were flagged by some of the faculty members in the chat box. Now, teaching and learning and research are the key activities in the higher education system, and we all know that in the legacy methodologies, the methodologies of 20th century, we were teaching learning process is not new. It is very, very old, but only, the paradigm is changing. For example, this, what is visible right now on your screen called cone of experience, is actually a well-established research outcome that indicates that if we are reading a material, we means either we ourselves or our students, we can only retain certain percent of it, right? And if we enhance, if we also hear the content, then the level of retention becomes higher. So this is actually based on some studies that have been conducted. So if we also are able to see it visually, then the level of retention gets even further. And if we also blend the hearing and seeing also, we can retain up to 50% also. So we have got 50%, we see and hear 50%, right? So here is which means the key takeaway is higher level of retention can be achieved through active involvement in learning. Now, some of the faculty members were flagging that, we pose a question, students don't respond, students don't interact. So it gets disheartening for the faculty members. Now, in fact, what the historical I will say traditional method of teaching learning was, when we were students in our schools, we had only one way, that is, we will have to wait for our Guruji or for our teacher to deliver a lecture. So chalk and talk was the technology, and the teacher will be the source of information, and we will be attending the classes. And if we, God forbid, happen to miss the class, we are gone. We'll have to wait for the next time the same lecture gets delivered by the same faculty, maybe the next year or whatever. So that was the history. But in the present scenario, things are changing a lot. That is no longer valid in 21st century. Because if I take the example of a geography example that I often take in my sessions, let us say a teacher is going to explain the concept of galaxy to his or her students for the first time. So students do not know about galaxy, let us say. This is the first lecture or first time they are getting introduced to the concept of galaxy. Then the teacher will walk into the class, draw a diagram on the green board or white board or black board, whatever. Drawing that diagram will take several minutes. The teacher will draw the diagram and then will explain the orbits, the heavenly bodies, the rotating, bodies, etc., satellites, etc., and then try to explain the concept to the students. Now, the galaxy itself is actually a 3-dimension. The galaxy itself is a 3-dimensional concept, whereas the galaxy is 3-dimensional concept, but the diagram is 2-dimensional. So while the best effort is made by the geography teacher to explain, the concept will still be vaguely understood, because it is not possible to visualize 3 dimensions on a 2-dimension blackboard. This was the history. But in the current scenario, it is very easily possible. At 3 minutes or 2 minutes, a YouTube video or any open educational resources having multimedia, 3-dimensional, moving objects, if that video is played in the classroom on the projector or in the smart classroom, the students can very easily get a clear-cut understanding of what galaxy is all about. So this enhancement of teaching aid through technology is possible now, wasn't possible something like 20-30 years back. At that point in time, teaching aids were there, but that teaching aid was like overhead projector, transparency projector. That is what our teachers used to do when we were students in 90s and 80s. At that time, our teachers will be using OSP projector and transparency. That was the teaching aid. So if they want to project anything, there will be a projector and there will be a transparency that through which they will project. That was the only teaching aid available. But with the passage of time, with the enhancement in technology, things are evolving, and it is very, very easy now to use multimedia technology to enhance the level of learning. So that is where it comes the role of teaching aid. We had been using teaching aids from time to time to reinforce the concepts being explained by the teacher, to ensure that the teacher's point is understood, signal what is important, what is essential, enable the students to visualize or experience something that is impractical to see or do in real life, engage students' other senses in the learning process, facilitate different styles of learning. So this was the concept as far as teaching aid. So teaching aid is not new. Only what is new is the aid itself is getting enhanced. So teaching aids now available. So what are the emerging trends in the by way of using ICT for education? Now there is a transformation happening. Now teaching learning environment is transforming. So there was a traditional model where the teacher's role was important. So the focus was only on teacher. So refer the example that I was giving few minutes back, that the learner's role was passive. He has to attend the talk or the class of the teacher, and the technology was chalk and talk. But then with the passage of time, with the enhancement, the model changed from traditional to information. So in the information model, the focus is not on the teacher, but on the learners. So here, the learners have to be activated. So they have to have an active role. And what they need is a personal computer. Personal computer here does not mean literally a desktop or a notebook PC or a laptop, but it could be even a smartphone which also has some computing power held in the hand of the students. So there has to be a device which has got some computing power, where the things like the video of Galaxy or a small video lecture or some relevant material can be referred by the student. So that is the model, that from traditional to information and from information to knowledge. So in the knowledge model, the focus is not on learners alone, but on the group of learners. And the role is actually, learner's role is adaptive. And here we not only need the network, PC, but also the network, which means we need the connectivity. Now here comes the third model, knowledge model. Now, I will park it here and I'll pose a question to the participants. Now, please let me know in all your classes, because all the faculty members would be having students, would be having, first-hand experience of handling the classes. So help me understand, all the students of your class are of the same, level, or they can be categorized into above average, below average, and average. Help me understand. Yes.
Haji, sir.
Because actually not
We can
all.
bifurcate them.
Hello? You can bifurcate them, absolutely. So in any class, something like 10, 15, 20% will be above average, right? The percentage may change from class to class, but there will be a small portion which is above average. There will be a large portion which is average, and there will be another small portion which is below average students, right? So if I have to classify the students into 3 groups, and then the learning needs of each group are slightly different, isn't it? Because as a teacher, a good teacher will always try to focus on the weakest lot of these students and try to uplift them. And in that process, the other ones, which is the average and above average, will anyway get benefited. So that is what will be aiming, objectives and aims of the teacher. But we all know that when you want to announce a remedial class for the weak students, you will announce remedial class for all the students, and the sincere lot will be sitting, and some of the average students will be sitting, and the actual beneficiaries who are being targeted are missing from the from that extra activity or extra class. This is very, very common, right? We all have experienced it, that we were trying to target the weaker students, but as some of the faculty members were mentioning in the chat box, that when we do that, the student, we throw a question, we pose a question so that we can initiate the discussion, understand the weak areas, understand the doubts that the individual student may have, but he's not responding, he's not taking interest. So so this knowledge model, or the model which is relevant in the 21st century, requires students to be grouped into different categories and give them adaptive learning environment. And this is very much possible, and we will look right in this session how we can do that, right? So this is possible, and this is what is the need of the hour in 21st century. Now, how the role of teachers itself is changing. Earlier in the traditional model, teacher was the transmitter of knowledge. So when the teacher, somebody misses the class of the particular teacher, he's gone, because he has no other methodology of acquiring the knowledge in the particular institution. But it is now no longer truly and fully valid. it is transforming into teacher is becoming guide and facilitator of knowledge. Instead of controller of learning, it is creator of learning environment. Instead of always an expert, it is collaborator and co-learner. Instead of learning to use ICT, it is using ICT to enhance learning. And instead of expository, it is interactive. So this is the transformation which is happening in the role of teachers. Now, how the curriculum needs to change? Let's look at the curriculum changes needed by the 21st century, because the way the things are have changed in the recent past with the incorporation of the technology enabled solutions into the teaching learning process, into the education, there are changes happening. For example, earlier the curriculum was focusing more on memorizing of facts, but it is no longer true. Our curriculum now has to be more inquiry based, because if we refer the earlier versions, when we were students, the teachers will ask questions like, when was Gandhiji born, in which city he was born, what was the Gandhiji's mother name, father name. This will be typically a question that will be asked in the school. But in today's scenario, these questions are meaningless. The reason being we are now having Google. So a student can always Google. I'm in the middle of the class. Please come back after the class. Don't disturb me. Come back after the class. Show it to the Sudeep. So please note that. Sorry for the interruption. Somebody tried to. Apologies. Somebody, because I'm in my office. Somebody's walked in and tried to disturb. So, coming back to the changes in the curriculum and delivery. So now it has to change, because if the teacher asked when was Gandhiji born, student have got smartphone, he will Google and write. So we really can't judge these students, right? So probably in today's scenario, a more relevant question could be, what would be Gandhiji doing if he was alive today? So here, the student will have to apply the knowledge, skills, analyze and try to write an answer, something like that, right? So the learning, so today's curriculum has to be inquiry based, not memory based. Likewise, instead of artificial teaching exercises, it should be authentic learning exercises. Now I'll take another example. Let us say, take the example of law. So there is a law. In the law, what is happening is there's some in the law colleges. I'm taking an example of law colleges. I'm sure same example you can apply to your own subjects and to your institutions. Earlier, what will happen is a student of law will study the law courses in his or her institution. After passing out, he or she will go and join some senior lawyer practicing in some court and would try to get some experience. Over a passage of time, he or she will get some practical exposure. But today, the technology has changed the paradigm. Supreme Court, High Court, many High Courts and Supreme Court also has started live streaming the hearing of the cases, which means now a student of law college can actually witness what is happening inside the court without even prior to the completion of his degree. So here is an opportunity for the teachers to give them assignments, that tomorrow there is going to be hearing in such and such case in the Supreme Court. I am teaching you this subject. Now here is an assignment. You spend a couple of hours, go through those, watch those proceedings and write a couple of pages of your own analysis of this particular, rule, this particular proviso, this, etc., etc. So this actually means there is tons of information, much more than it used to be available in the traditional model. So here in this process, the teacher's role is actually a guide and facilitator to enrich and enhance the skill of the students by using technology and by using the delivery methodology and blending them into the curriculum. So that is the beauty. So that is the actually transformation that is happening. So what is required is the institutions also need to revise their curriculum, include these, and our statutory and regulatory bodies are already encouraging that. For example, UGC has brought UGC credit framework for SWAYAM courses. Likewise, AICT has already said, you need to have internship for these many weeks during your vacation for the engineering students, MBA students, etc., etc. So I'm saying is these are regulatory bodies. They have already aligned their policies accordingly. So what is required is that at the institution level or at the decision-making level in the institutions, we need to take care of these. Now, there was a methodology of rigid and fixed delivery. Taking the same example that if there is actually any student who misses the class of a particular Guruji, he's gone. So it is very fixed time and fixed space. That is no longer true. We have all witnessed in the recent past, in 2020 and 2021, students were all moved to different their hometowns and they were attending the classes. That means anytime, anywhere. So the delivery methodology becomes flexible. So the challenge of lack of continuity of the students in the class is also need to be addressed through technology. So there are, instead of single path propagation, we have to move to multi-path propagation. All of that is actually happening in 21st century, and our institutions, our faculty members need to be appropriately aligned, and we need to change our methodology also and upskill ourselves, enhance the infrastructure or at least the knowledge base in our institution so that we can use the infrastructure of other institutions also by way of technology. We will look into it, how we are doing it and how it is helpful. So instead of single sense, the multimedia applications through multi-sensory simulation will be helpful. Like, take the example that I gave, the Galaxy example. So instead of delivery of information, it will be exchange of information, which means if suppose a law faculty member teaching a law gives an home assignment to the students that you watch the YouTube video of Supreme Court hearing for such and such case today, and tomorrow each one or each group of students has to make a presentation of 5 minutes or 10 minutes of what are your key observations from that hearing on the Supreme Court. So this will become exchange of information. So the communication, instead of monologue, it becomes dialogue and collaborative. And the resources, instead of the analog resources, it becomes digital, which means instead of only looking at the physical books in the library available in my own institution, we do now have access to all the books available in all the libraries across the country, as long as they have become part of the National Digital Library. So as one of the faculty members was mentioning in the chat box that we have very limited resources in our institution. Fine. Today, through the government funded projects, the institutions are collaborating with each other. And in those collaboration, we have to have digital resources, and we can use those digital resources. We will look at how. So what Government of India has done has actually funded Digital India project, where there is a lot of focus on digitization and making the resources available. So here are some examples of national digital resources that we can use in our teaching, learning and research process appropriately. So here is a portal called sakshat.ac.in. You can see on the screen. Is my screen visible? Can somebody mention what URL is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely fine. So you can see Sakshat portal is actually a portal that was inaugurated in 2006 by the then President Dr. APJ Abul Kalam, and we all know education was very close to his heart. So he has perceived and conceived the idea and inaugurated a portal, saying that this portal will help the remotest village, a student of India who is educationally backward, who is economically backward, in the remotest corner across India can still get benefited by the content being published on Sakshat portal. That was the concept with which this portal was initiated and inaugurated by our very learned president of India, Dr. Kalam. And in fact, we all know that he even died while giving a lecture. So education was very close to his heart, and his clean and life is available to the public. And he encouraged the use of technology. And through technology, even though he has died, but we can still watch his videos and get motivated. So that was the concept and the envisioned by the then president, and then he had inaugurated this portal. Subsequent, all presidents and the governments have taken it forward further and have enriched many more initiatives in that direction. So NPTEL is one of them, National Program on Technology Enabled Learning. Now this is another national digital resource which we can refer to. This is basically what has happened is, this is again a program under NME ICT. So there is a national mission on education through ICT. So for this purpose, the national program on technology enabled learning, what happened is the government has realized that with the increase in population, the education is a government responsibility, but building an institution is not an easy task. It requires lots and lots of resources, money, time, and it takes decades to build institution. So it is not possible to build more and more institution. That's why private participation was allowed, so that the education need of the masses of the India can be fulfilled. So when the privatization was done for education, private participation was allowed. Private parties built up their own, so there were private colleges, private universities, etc., etc. Now there they started, building very good buildings, etc. But the other infrastructure like laboratory, like good teachers, etc., they were not up to the mark in many cases. So realizing this challenge, what government did is, let's take the example of IITs. There are few IITs, there are few IIMs, there are few AIMs, there are few central universities, but there are so many colleges, so many private universities. Now, not every student is fortunate enough to get admission in IITs. So while the student may not get admission to IIT because there is a selection process, there is a limited number of seats, but still that student studying in any college should be able to have access to the content being taught in IITs. With that idea, the NPTEL was funded. So the lectures being taught actually in IITs are recorded and they are made available through NPTEL. So even if there is a teacher who's teaching a particular course for the first time in some private engineering college, he also has access to NPTEL. So he can see how it is being taught in IITs, how it is being taught in Tier 1 institutions. So he or she can enrich his or her skill accordingly for the purpose of making sure that there is a level playing field as far as from the government side is concerned, which means the government has made the resources available, and the people get selected or not selected, that is their competence and the limited number of seats. But from the government side, the content being taught there has been made available to all. So that is an initiative. With that, the NPTEL initiative was approved. And then we have vlab.co.in. That's another initiative. After the class, please. No, after the class. I don't allow things in the middle of my class. So then we have vlab.co.in, another initiative. Here, basically, what is happening is we have virtual lab, and what happens is most of the institutions, see, laboratory setup is a very, very costly affair. Equipments do a lot of cost. So costing of the equipment is basically very, very I mean, it's a challenge. If so, private colleges will say we don't have that kind of admissions, we don't have that kind of funds. Therefore, we are unable to do this funding. So ultimately, when equipments are not there, many of the laboratories require equipment for doing proper experiments. In the absence of equipment, ultimate sufferer is the student. So to bridge this loss, to take care of the gaps, what government has done, the government has funded virtual labs, which means these virtual labs are actually physical labs in some institution which have been virtualized and made available 24/7 across the country. By any student from any corner of the country can run these experiments virtually, and so that if his or her own institution is not providing a very good lab facility, the student can still get learnings and knowledge acquired. So this is the advantage that this particular project or this initiative of government is offering. Then we have EPG in Pathshala. So lots and lots of courses have been digitized, they have been made available, and this can be referred by teachers, it can be referred by students, it can be referred by learners across the country. So a particular subject being taught in my college, suppose my teacher is not that good in my private college and I'm suffering as a student, I still have the option of referring the content. And likewise, if a particular teacher is teaching the course for the first time, then he or she can actually look into the content and try to upskill oneself. So this is the lots and lots of course. We will also see a demo of these national digital resources after the presentation is over. Then we have SWAYAM portal. We all know SWAYAM is a massive open online course platform for the Indian. It's an actually Indian MOOCs platform. So MOOCs is an initiative. We all know that it was born in 2011-12 when one of the universities in US tried to do. See, what happens is as we move higher into the education system, there is a concept of specialization. So when specialization is there, at that point in time, in the specialization, the expert for a particular field will be available in some institute, right? But in order for others to get benefited from the expertise of that particular expert, what are the options? Suppose there is an expert sitting in Australia in a particular university, then for others to get benefited, there are two options. Either that particular expert professor from Australia travels to different countries, interacts with different people, option one. Option two, everyone else from different countries travel to Australia, meet that professor, get benefited. These are the two options. Both of them are practically not possible because it involves cost, it involves passport, visa, it involves so many challenges, and there is challenge of time. So in order to overcome this problem, an experiment was performed in 2011, late 2011. One of the professors from a university in US did an experiment, and that experiment was very, very successful. He tried to conduct a session which is now today called as MOOCs. And in that session, people from different countries, different continents joined. It was very, very successful. Thousands of people joined. That, based on the success of that experiment, the birth of MOOCs was actually, that gave a birth to the concept of MOOCs. And thereafter, lots of platforms like edX, right? So many MOOCs platform provider came. MOOCs have become very, very popular. And our government also had started an initiative called SWAYAM, where lots and lots of courses are being made available. I'm sure many of you would have already seen the SWAYAM platform and would have used. In fact, UGC has brought a SWAYAM credit framework also to promote use of SWAYAM in various institutions to some percentage, to some extent, right? And then we have another national digital resource called swayamprabha.gov.in. So this Swayam Prabha portal is actually, it's a direct to home dish TV. And in this dish TV, in direct to home dish TV channel, we would be basically, lots and lots of programs are being aired. So in the college, in the institutions, in the library, and this dish TV can be subscribed and it can be put into the common places where the students can sit and watch these programs. Lots and lots of programs are being aired. Although not only dish TV, it can also be accessed through the internet. We will see when we are looking at the demo side of it, right? And then we have one more digital resource called National Digital Library. So the last one is the National Digital Library, which means different libraries have become part of the National Digital Library. So if the users in any institution want to get access to all the resources available under the umbrella of National Digital Library, they can access those resources sitting in their own institution rather than needing to travel outside. Or so that so this enhances the capacity of the individual student, individual teacher, and individual researcher. So coming back to the original statement that we were making, that technology helps us to find meaningful and affordable solutions. Technology alone can't solve the problem, but we can definitely blend technology with the people and process to achieve excellence. Now, this training that is happening is actually part of enriching and upskilling of the people, through which, we have people, we have technology, and then we have process. So the process side of thing will be in the individual institutions, in the decision-making bodies of the institutions. There will be some, those individual bodies will approve certain policies and procedures through which technology can be recognized, and technology-enabled solutions can be incorporated into the teaching, learning, in the assessment process, etc., etc. So all the three, when they are blended together, then only we are able to achieve excellence. So let us, before we get into the discussion of research, let me take a few minutes to showcase the national digital resources that we have just talked about, right? So give me 1 minute, please. Let me. Is my browser visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very nice.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
let me
Ji, sir.
start from
Yes, sir.
Swayam
Ji, sir.
Prabha. Swayam Prabha. Is Swayam Prabha site visible right now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Visible, sir.
Yes, sir.
You can see here that Swayam Prabha is airing lots and lots of programs, and those programs are categorized. If you see here, higher education and school education. So we can in fact use this for our school kids also. So if there are school education system attached to our institution, we can use that also. So here you can see here there are lots of channels where lots and lots of programs are being aired. For example, NCERT Vidya 11, NCERT Vidya 12. So I would request all the participants in your leisure time kindly explore these, right? So if we click here, it is basically there are upcoming, there are current, and there are archives. So suppose some at that time our school students were busy, so they can refer the archive, and in the archive the recorded version is available. So it is related to different classes, right? So it relates to different subjects, different classes, and then they can actually go through this and then enhance their learning, right? So there are lots and lots of archived programs are available, and I would say you can please explore it during your free time, right? So if we click on the content, it will open discover content as a teacher, discover content as a student, discover content as a school head, discover content as parent. Lots and lots of options are available. So I will say, let's say if I want to discover, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't see the controls. Otherwise, I would have messaged. Sir, the portal that you are showing, there is a login symbol. Even right now, I can see it. So
Yes.
does it mean that in order to access the courses, we need to log in or register, or
You can register. Registration is very easy. Not at all a problem. There is
does
no.
it require institutional
You can
login?
register as a learner directly. even if institution has not registered, there is no issue. You can register. It's not a problem. So it is not for profit. So please understand that it is not for making money out of it. It is basically for knowing what all people are using the facility, right? So here is you can see here some phone numbers also being displayed. You can, if you want to support institution wants to at institution level, that is also possible. Otherwise, individuals, faculty members can also do it, right? So what I'm saying is this one example. Likewise, we have higher education. In here, we have lots and lots of subjects. So here, current programs, program schedule, live sessions, and the recorded session. We attend the live sessions. You can that is also possible, and we can also do the recorded versions. So lots and lots of them are available. Just one of the national digital resource. Now let us go back to the second one that I was referring, called VLab, right? VLab.co.in. So we have got virtual labs. Now virtual labs are very good initiative. Basically, laboratories reinforce the concept that was being taught in the laboratories reinforce the concept that was being taught in the what is called theoretical classes. So basically, lots of participating institutions whose laboratories have been virtualized, and here are the different subjects. For example, let me take a example of biotechnology and biomedical engineering or chemical sciences. Let me take the example of chemical sciences, right? So we have, let's say, inorganic chemistry virtual lab, right? So I have, you can see here that it has got lots and lots of, resources available, and it has got theory, it has got procedure, it has got self-evaluation, it has got simulator, it has got assignment, references, it has got a feedback methodology also. So here also one can create a login and then start referring, because they would like to know who is using it and maybe obtain feedback from time to time. So that's the right. So here we can see here that all those experiments can be performed virtually without requiring physical chemicals or physical equipments. All of that is possible. The content is very nicely designed. So I'd say this is something that helps a lot, and that is very, very vital for basically overcoming the impediments or overcoming the weaknesses due to shortage of the equipment, etc. Is that clear? So
Yes, sir.
let's move back to another resource that we talked about. We had mentioned about SWAYAM platform. We had mentioned SWAYAM. I'm sure you would have been. This SWAYAM Prabha we have already seen. Let's see SWAYAM. SWAYAM.gov. Right. Is that clear? Now we have SWAYAM. We have lots and lots of courses available in SWAYAM. Here also, there are two types of accounts to be registered. One is the learner account, the other is the teacher account. Teacher account is only when you have been allotted a course to be built and taught on the SWAYAM platform. Otherwise, learner account can be created by all of us and all of our students. And there we can go through these courses, we can identify the appropriate courses. There are two types of courses. One is called self-paced learning courses. Those self-paced learning courses are similar to any other courses, and there is no schedule for it. One can learn at its own pace. But the other one, which is the scheduled courses, there is going to be a scheduling, and in that scheduled courses, in the scheduled courses, there will be a schedule, there will be an exam. So all of that is possible. So from time to time, the advertisement will happen. So one can create. So, and these are the upcoming courses where enrollment is open. Kindly mute yourself. So these resources, right? Somebody wants to do art of C programming. One can register here. Somebody wants to learn artificial intelligence using Prolog. So some 12-week course is happening, right? And enrollment ends on 29th February. So you can see here These are all the courses where enrollment is still open, so one can enroll on these courses. Go through these courses as per the. Kindly mute yourself, and then we can,
मैम म्यूट कर लीजिए.
so then we can avail these national digital resources for helping our students. Now there is one more thing that I wanted to demonstrate. If we have, now coming back to the problems that we discussed that there are problems, and those problems need to be addressed. For example, a student joined the class, but in the middle of the class, because he is in a village, from the village he dropped out, and he had electricity problem or connectivity problem, and he could never join, right? So for all such thing, there has got to be a solution called LMS. So many institutions have an LMS solution, which is called Learning Management System, and we do have a learning management system in AMU also. And this learning management system is available and hosted inside the university premise, in the computer center of the university, and we are managing the technical side of it. Then there are faculty wise coordinators who take care of the accounts in their faculty and the mentoring of the users, and we do conduct training. Now what happens is, I'll showcase you the internals of an LMS through which we can actually solve the problem. So let me just try to log in as a teacher into the LMS, and I'll just show you how we can right. So we have now we have is the dashboard visible right now? No.
Yes, sir.
What is
Yes,
happening?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
So
sir.
let us look at this is actually my own dashboard. So I'll just showcase the teacher's dashboard. Now here is it has got a fantastic facility of announcements. So if you want to announce something to all your students, just make the announcement. For example, on 18th November 2023, I made an announcement for assignment submission. So when I post this assignment, immediately I don't have to, immediately it will go to the message, will go to all my students, and they'll get an alert on their smartphone. And here are my students, participating students, and here is the list, for example. So on their smartphone, they will get an alert that a new announcement has come from my teacher. So immediately they will see. Likewise, if I want to announce the anything related to the test or quiz or whatever, that's quite possible. So that's how it is basically. Apart from that, I will upload the suppose the student was in my class, he missed out, then after the class I will upload the slides. So when I upload the slide, if the slide is available to the student, he can download. So he can go and download the slide at himself, and I will know whether this student has downloaded or not, because a dashboard is available with me that tells me when did the student log in. For example, this particular student logged in 80 days 13 hours back. Suppose I give some student assignment and he says, sir, I have completed the assignment. Orally he is saying, but I can see he has not even logged into the portal. So that means he is not telling the truth. So I need to pull him, or I need to show him that you have not even logged into the portal. You are saying that you have completed the assignment. Then he doesn't have to come to me to submit the assignment. He will submit the assignment. Now here are my slides, but at times to reinforce the concept, I would ask my student, I will provide him a small URL of some educational resources for the purpose of, for example, I will provide, let's say I'm teaching domain name system, which is one of the topics in the syllabus concerned. Then I can provide him a reference, a URL to some guide available in public domain, that please go through this guide. So I have uploaded that link, so a student doesn't have to search here and there. he will straight away go and he will look at this resource which has got some relevant material, some small videos. So it'll give him further insights into the concept of that particular topic. This is the advantage it offers. So there is one-stop shop. So a student will go through my slides, a student will attend my class. He will also look at some of the open educational resources that I have linked in my curriculum, in my Moodle dashboard or in my assignments dashboard. And then whether he, just like this mark, there will be a student also, when he completes, he will put a mark and it will get an update to the teacher. Likewise, assignments can be given. And another thing is, as far as assignments is concerned, we all know that many students just copy and submit the assignment without really involving the learning, which is actually defeating the purpose of assignment. So what we can do is, we can actually ask a student to go through some of the different students, different type of assignments, and then ask them that you please submit the assignment. For example, this is actual practical example. I have given some assignment, but I have put an important note. Please read this important note. Each student must submit answer in his own handwriting, else it is liable for disqualification for grading evaluation. Now, even if he is copying, he is writing in his own handwriting, he is reading it. I'm just trying to make sure that, and then when he submits, I will only grade. For example, here is a assignment submitted by my student. So when I open this assignment for grading and submission, I have seen that he has written in his own handwriting. So at least he has read what he is writing. If I allow the typed version, copy, Control-C, Control-V and submit. So I'm just trying to, guide the student through, so as to make sure that he is, and this submission is time based. So here is this is the advantage that we can have through something called LMS that can be implemented in the institution. And if the institution has not implemented, then the individual teachers can also use the cloud version up to some extent without incurring any cost. So this all takes care of some of the issues, right? Likewise, we can have the questions that may be given, and then the student will be answering those questions, and then it can be evaluated here. So then we can directly download the grade report from here. So who got what grade will get automatically, and we can download the grade report, right? So something like that. So lots and lots of options are available in the LMS. So LMS is one of the solutions that we have implemented in our university, and other institutions also can implement. What we have implemented is actually Moodle. So it's a modular, object-oriented dynamic learning environment, which is one of the best LMS across the globe that we have implemented, and many of the almost all top 100 institutions worldwide have LMS. So we have implemented one of the LMS relevant. Likewise, you can also think of using some LMS to take care of some of the problems. So this is as far as teaching learning is concerned. Now we have got about 30 minutes. If you have any questions in what we have discussed so far, please raise your questions. Otherwise, we'll proceed further on the third component, which is the research support and research support tools. Any questions in what we have discussed so far?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, this is a very generic question. Amazing that we are talking about how to teach about the galaxy system to the students, and they don't have to picturize, they just have to see what the teacher is showing, and that's how they get just the correct idea of what they should learn. This is very good of all kind of technical knowledge or any kind of knowledge that requires facts of figures.
Yeah.
But sir, I am a person of literature and I teach literature to the students. There are many times when we do not have the resources, or maybe I want to enhance their imaginative capabilities. What should I do, sir?
Yeah, so very good. Now let me take you through. We have talked so far about national digital resources. There are international digital resources also, which we can avail without moving an inch from our desk. So we have, here is a website. Is it visible? Is it visible? It is.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It is
Yes, sir.
MIT Open
Yes, sir.
Courseware. Top institutions of the world they often lots and lots of open courseware and open courseware belonging to different. MIT is just one example. There are so many other institutions, Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford, so many universities are offering. So we have open courseware. So what we can do is we can see what all, for example, ma'am, what is your subject? Please tell me. What is your
English literature.
Huh?
English literature, sir.
Literature. So let me say English literature. Right. So we have plenty of MOOCs courses on the English literature, which is being offered. I've just searched in front of you. Let's see. So in the English literature, a number of MOOCs courses are available. Maybe looking at these MOOCs courses, how they are using innovative methodologies. And for English literature, there are SWAYAM courses. There are SWAYAM Prabha. Let's go to one of the, while it is search opening, let me also say for the same time, let's say EPG Pathshala. One of the URLs that we had listed. Right here we have EPG Pathshala, right? So we have a number of courses and subject. Here you can see, ma'am, English, there are 560 resources related to English. This is EPG Pathshala, right? So I'm going to English, and then I see here English literature, right? English literature up to 1590, then beyond that. Okay, so let me open English literature. Then I have got so many. So for English literature, there is, let me open this. Right here we have e-text, and we can see the material that is available here, that is downloadable, right? So relevance of the content, I think you may be in a better position to judge, right? And then we have self-learning. Now where we have the content which in the form of video, right? This is as far as introduction to the age is concerned. Let me move to something, development of English drama or something like that. Again, I have e-learning. So I have got text, transcript, and then I have the video. Plenty of resources are available for, this is just as far as English literature. Then we move it to English literature beyond 1590. What it makes, I mean, the actual sense of the subject, you may be in a better position. Introduction to Shakespeare, something like that. We have e-text, we have learn more, and we have self-learning. So there is a video available. So this video you can find plenty of material available in the EPG Pathshala also, which is being used innovatively by other institutions. So you can find lots and lots of literature. Likewise, if somebody is from economics, somebody is from Chinese, Buddhist studies, education, pharmaceutical sciences, media, so many subjects, right? This is as far as the lecture side of is concerned. For the research side, we will be discussing when we talk about the research support. Madam, did it answer your query to some extent?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, fine. So, I mean, this is one of the national digital resource, which is already on our slide that I had shown, EPG Pathshala, right? So this is as far as teaching learning is concerned. I'll say explore your subject, find the relevant material, take a portion of it, also pass it on to your student in your LMS. And, it is very wide. Forensic sciences, environmental sciences, mathematics, physics, psychology, Russian studies, so on and so forth. The relevance and context you can decipher much better than I, because I am from IT field, so I can, maybe information technology and computer science I can decipher, but others you can make better sense, and you can correlate it with your need of your learners, right? Okay, so let's, any other question before I move to the research part? No questions, right?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So here is, ma'am, it has also said, some of the courses available on the various MOOCs platform. So I would say first explore the SWAYAM Prabha and the EPG Pathshala, and then look for, other courses, open international digital resources. Apart from that, in our university website also, let me just open amu.ac.in. We had, I think during COVID pandemic, under the student services, we had listed, here is the URL. Is it visible? Open access and open learning.
Yes, sir.
So you go to amu.ac.in, go to student services. Under that, you can see here open access and open learning resources. You click on that, it will download, it will open to a page, and here is a PDF. Download this PDF. It has got tons and tons of URLs of different resources belonging to different subjects. You can see some of them are all, we have discussed this already here. And here you can find subject wise lots and lots of resources that probably might be relevant. It might find some value for you. So you can please, these are all open access. It does not require a subscription. You can directly use some of these resources, right? So that might be helpful for you. Then you can explore the individual subjects and relevant, right? Okay. So for the, let me just put the URL in the chat box so that you can copy easily and download if required. But we'll go to student services. We'll go to open access and online. So I'll just copy that and put it in the chat box. So you can, right? So, right. So I have pinned the message. You can click on this and also avail these, download that, and then you can, at your leisure, you can go through. Right. So if there are no more questions, then I'll move to the research support tools, right? Now let's go to the research side of things. Now, my question to all the participants, as research supervisors or as ex-research scholars, PhD students in some point in time previously, you might have gone through the research process, and obviously one of the key objectives of PhD is continue post-PhD research, right? So there would be some PhD students, some research scholars, etc., with whom the research supervisors would be interacting and continuing the research. So in terms of the technological support, for the research, help me understand what are the problems. Now let us again in the chat box move and see what problems, so that by the end of the discussion we see whether we have found any solutions to the problems that we flagged by the end of the session. That will be very nice if you are able to solve. We are living in world of problems, right? Not all problems are solvable, but if we are able to find some solution, meaningful, affordable solutions to some of the problems, that has reduced the quantum of problem, right? So that should be the approach. Help us understand what are the problems from your eyes. What are the problems? What are the problems of research scholars? What are the problems of research supervisors? Let's talk. Mention the problem in the chat box if you believe any. Now, in various sessions with the research scholars, with the research supervisors, and in all, when we privately ask the research scholars some common problems, the research scholar will say, my supervisor is not available. My supervisor doesn't have time for me. He is too busy. This is the version of research scholar. What about supervisor? Supervisor will say, my student is very, he is visible to me only when he has to get the scholarship paper signed, or when the quarterly or 6 monthly reports coming. So these are all the common concerns. Two sides of the story. Student will say supervisor is very busy, he is not available. And yes, Mr. Upendra, please go ahead. What's your query? Upendra Singh, please go ahead. You have raised your hand. Go ahead. What is your query? Please unmute and speak. Right now you are muted. Or if you have some problem with your audio, then you can put your query in the chat box. Okay, so I don't know, maybe. Okay, we know few we will get back to the plagiarism side of it. We'll get to it. Plagiarism checker tool, but we don't know any. Okay. we'll get back to it. So your question is very relevant, specific to the flag check tool. Okay. So we'll get to it. Any other problem that you see? Let's say a PhD student has completed the admission process. He or she, after completing the admission process from whatever department handles admission, walks into the department. What he or she should do during first day, first week, first month, first year, and how technology can help him or her do it better, do it more effectively, is what we would be endeavoring to focus on. So in the absence of any technology support or any technical support, how it is happening today, how it had been happening in past, this is what I want to hear from you. After the fellow completes the admission, PhD student walks into the department, what does he do or what does she do? Any ideas, any suggestions, any inputs?
Sir, I think he studies about the lab in which he or she is working, and what is the work that is being carried out by his supervisor.
Okay, cool. So in fact, when he has taken the admission, probably supervisor allotment would happen after a few weeks, few months, right? So there will be typically some courseware, right? He'll have to do some course to be completed, right? One of the course will be also on the research methodology. The other will be related to some subject, as you rightly mentioned, some subject that he is going to do research on. Then what will happen? He needs to identify some problems, right? Problem statement or the research question. So finally leading to the topic of the research, right? Thesis topic, etc., etc. So how that is identified and how soon that gets identified, and how we ensure that the topic is good enough for taking it forward. All of those are some of the decision points or some of the ambiguities or some of the areas where the research scholar is supposed to focus. Now, how is the topic identified? Is it suggested by some friend? Is it suggested by the supervisor? Is it proposed by the student? Or is it the outcome of some exercise, some due process, some process at the output of which, he'll have better clarity, better visibility, etc., etc. Because I want to make this interactive, because I want to hear from you also, right? Now, any inputs from the participants?
Sir, problem may be from his interest area.
Very good. Okay. So area of the interest of the research scholar, right? Or the area of the work of the research supervisor or the department, because any department will be maintaining certain thrust areas of research, right? A department will have different faculty members. Those faculty members will be doing some research in some particular area, right? So what is important is, when, as somebody has mentioned in the chat box very rightly, there is a process of literature review. So literature review, the what is literature review, how it should be done, what are the types of literature review, etc., will be part of the research methodology course itself. But all said and done, the research scholar needs to conduct a proper literature review. If it is not done properly and he starts working, down the line after few months, he will realize that what he is doing is already done. Somebody else has already done. So it's not, it's a wasted effort on his part or her part. So what is in this entire process, where is the role of technology and how technology can help me, is we are trying to focus on that. So technology offers certain tools and techniques that, if embedded along with the research process of the institution, can make the things more effective, much better, and more pleasant. For example, let me get back to the slide. So we have Is the slide visible now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
there are different
Yes,
perspectives,
sir.
right? There is a perspective of the research. Both are right. You can see here two people looking at a picture, right? One person is seeing it as 9 and saying, no, it is not 6, it is 9. The other person is seeing it as 6 and says, no, it is 6, not 9. Both of them are correct in their own perspective. But actually, so there are different perspectives of the research scholar and research supervisor. All of that has got to be resolved. That is where we can use technology and we can arrive at a topic which is worth pursuing, which means a problem has to be identified through a process. So there will be a literature review. There are tools and techniques available for making the literature review more effective. That boils down to search methodologies, right? So there are different types of search method. How do we search information today? Open question for all the participants. How to search information? How do you search information today? Yes, my friends, tell me.
From search engine,
From search engine. So Google. Okay.
uh,
Google.
other also.
Okay. Google is for searching normal information, but for the research, what research has already happened, searching through Google is not a good idea. Instead, it is better to search through the databases which are indexing the published article. Can we name some of them?
PubMed.
Absolutely. PubMed is an example for medical science, right? PubMed is absolutely fine. So we have Scopus, right? We have Scopus, we have Web of Science. Very nice. We have Web of Science. Web of Science. So we have a number of databases which are actually indexing the published articles of the. So here we have. So when we want to search, we would prefer searching a database that indexes published articles, research articles related to the subject in which the particular research scholar is aiming to pursue the research, right? So searching through Google is not at all a good idea because it is very easy to publish normal article. Only you need a place to host and you can publish it. But as far as research is concerned, each research publication has got some quality control methodology, right? Each journal has its own author guideline, reviewer guideline, editor guideline, vagara, vagara. And those are, any paper which gets published would have gone through those articles, right? So searching the paper normally in the Google is not at all a good idea. We may end up, causing self-inflicted injuries to ourselves if we use Google itself for the researcher. We should search the indexed databases, for example, PubMed, for example, Scopus, for example, Web of Science. And if you belong to a different subject, find out what are the databases which are indexing the articles, authentic articles, published research articles, and search through those databases, right? So kindly use those proper. So here are some, we have just looked at 3 examples. Not these 3 examples will not cover all the subjects. So based on your subject that you belong to, try to find out the relevant database and try to search through it. For example, let me try to search. Let's say I want to do research in cyber security. I'm just taking a hypothetical example. So you can correlate this with the example of your own subject. Let's say I want to say cyber crime or something like that, right? So I have searched the Scopus based on the cyber crime as my keyword, and I can see here we have a number of articles. Now, an article published in 2024, here it is the article that is published in such and such journal, right? And it is in volume 1, etc., etc. Likewise, we can identify the relevant papers. We can go through the abstract, and if it is relevant, then we can download these papers. And once we download the paper, another problem starts. The problem is, in the life of a research scholar, he starts doing research, he will have his or her first paper, then his or her second paper, then third paper, fourth paper, and so on and so forth. By the time he or she is in a position to submit his thesis or her thesis, he would have already read 200, 250, 300 research papers. How to manage those 200 papers, how to manage those 300 papers is another problem. That is what, to solve that problem, there is a technology-based solution called Reference Manager tool. So that's, we have a number of Reference Manager tool. Some of you would have used it, would be aware of it, like EndNote, like Zotero, like Mendeley, etc., etc. So if we use those tools, which means once we identify the paper, once we download the paper, we can put it in our library, in the Reference Manager library, and from there we can refer them, we can cite them when we are using in our research, right? So that's the another important. As far as Google is concerned, if you really want to use Google for seeing the research paper, we have scholar.google.com. Here you can go and you can search for, you know, author, or you can search for the paper. For example, if I say artificial intelligence on the Google Scholar portal, so you can see here that on Google Scholar we find that, you know, there are artificial intelligence in medicine, some articles are published. So as far, if we have to use Google, then it is better to use the Google Scholar to find out what relevant papers are being available there, in the being maintained by various scholars through Google Scholar, right? So if at all you have to use Google, please go to Google Scholar and try to do search, but otherwise make sure that you are using indexed databases and you are searching through those databases. Apart from that, there is another problem that some of the participants mentioned, that, you know, we don't have, some of the journals are having, you know, charging, and our institution does not have subscribed to that. So how do we access those papers? So we have something called DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals. So there is actually a directory which is providing, which is indexing all the open access journals. So we can see here it has got 80 languages, it has got 134 countries, it has got 13658, and it has got 2425, all of that. So all these journals will be are available, and we can search articles. So again, if I type here cyber crime, let me try to find out how many research papers related to cyber crime are available in the open access journal. I can see here that there is a paper available, impact of development of social, impact of the development of society on economic and financial crime case, right? Using blockchain, using enhancing awareness of cyber crime, etc., etc. So these papers, since they are open access journals, they are open access, they can be downloaded, right? So these papers can be downloaded. Here is, we have, right? Is that clear? So we can read online and we can also download, right? So you can, since it's an open access journal, the entire paper is available without any charge. It can be downloaded and then it can be referred. So this way we can overcome some of the limitations of lack of access to resources, and it has got fairly good number of articles available, so that can be used by the research scholars. Any questions in what we discussed so far before we get to the discussion of the last point, which was or let me just try to quickly rush through the slides. We have got few more minutes. So we have a Mendeley Mendeley is another reference manager tool that can be used, and it helps keeping the references. It also helps providing academic social networking, research collaboration, career development. All of those is available. So Mendeley, I will, instead of going through the slide, I will just showcase the here is the site where users can go and create a free Mendeley account, and then they can start using the Mendeley account. There is a desktop version, there is a mobile app version also, which can be downloaded and installed in the laptop or desktop, but Mendeley can be used, right? So in that way, the life of a research scholar and research supervisor becomes much easier whenever there is a need for using technology to be better and more effective researcher and more effective, supervisor through use of technology, right? So I mean, anything that we are doing manually, if we can automate certain portion of it through technology, it will be much better, right? Any questions in what we have discussed so far?
Sir, can I ask something here?
Go ahead.
Sir, there are many academic institutions that do not get access to the paid journals like JSTOR, ProQuest. Now, for people like us who teach literature or any such theoretical subject, for us, we do not have experiments. So journals are our only resources, or books. Okay, but journals are considered better because they are more updated. But sir, in case if we don't have access to a single database, and open access journals don't really always give us the good quality papers or even the seminal papers, so what are we supposed to do then?
If there is a genuine need for those index databases and your institution is not providing that, probably they do not see the value in it, because the institution's leadership team or the administrative team needs to see a value in that. So we have to convince them, we have to tell them the problem that we have. And most of these accrediting bodies, like NAC or ranking agencies, they do have parameters related to the research. So point number one. Point number two, open access journals do not have good quality papers is actually a myth. Most of the journals, open access journals, are very good quality. In fact, earlier what was happening is there were paid journals and there were free journals. So those fly-by-night journals were charging and publishing articles. So in order to overcome the issue, what has happened, even good quality journals have also started making their access open, and then they start charging. That concept is no longer valid. Number one. Number two, if while you can go to Google Scholar, search for your article, because if it is published by, because who is publishing these articles? Some faculty members, some professor, some researchers somewhere across the globe, right? So they would definitely be listed in Google Scholar, right? So what we can do is we can write to them, because when we find their paper, we know their contact details, we can write to them that I am doing so and so, kindly provide me. If they accept the request, they will provide. In my experience, whenever we have written, or many times many students write to us for our paper, we help them. So that is the interim solution. But going forward, institution support is required, and I would say present your case properly to your management of the institution to subscribe those articles, and look at the National Digital Library also, whether in the National Digital Library whether those resources are available. If yes, then you can refer through National Digital Library also, right? And most of the institutions are being encouraged to do collaboration. So when you are collaborating, if it is available in the collaborating institution, you can refer to them also, right? And have some network with other researchers, right? Any other questions? I think we are almost done as far as our time is concerned. So I would like to, before I conclude, any questions related to the research, if we have any. As far as the flag check tools are concerned, we have generally these tools available. We have generally these tools available in the. Generally these tools are available in the libraries. All said and done, these tools have some cost associated. Generally, there will be some constraint in every institution, no matter what. So what practically I have found is a practical solution that I have observed that when a PhD student is in the second year or third year, or I mean in the final year of their PhD work, they need these tools, right? And those tools are very restrictive in nature, that you have to send your work there, they will check and give you report. This problem is very, very common. So what practically some students have done is 2 or 3 students pooled their resources, gone in for a student version subscription in one of their years, one of the closing years of their PhD. So in that process, they don't have to depend on anybody. And since the student version of these tools are less expensive, they are very, very nominal charges. So it is sort of affordable. So this could be a practical solution, or pending the full-blown access availability to each and every faculty member and each and every student. Generally, a university also or institution also have budgetary constraints. So these are all the competing demands. So that's how we can manage them. And there are some free tools available, but they do have some limitations. For instance, these many KBs or MBs you can search in one day, 1 week, etc., etc. Is that okay? So any other questions? Thanks a lot for your time. I think our time is up. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, 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 sir.